Biohazard warning. Entering contaminated zone. Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only. Backup activated. System rebooted.
What's going on, agents? Your boy Sly here, and welcome back to another Division video. So as we all know, the road in 1.3 has been a little odd. We started off fantastic, new stuff to do, powerful new weapons, great new gear, all was well in the world. But then around the time they fixed the G36, things kind of seemed to not be so clear anymore. And since the G36 is now no longer the only clear choice when it comes to weapon loadouts, what happened to our old vanilla staple that brought us forward and helped us conquer the game to begin with? So that's what I'm here to check out now. A lot of us use different weapons at the start of the game, but at some point or another, everyone picked up a Vector and has used it from one time or another. Now the Vector was the gun to get you through the incursion, keep you safe in the DZ. It performed exceptionally well in all areas. So after a few weeks of looting the MP5, then the AUG stepped in as great choices as well. So much so that the SMG category was just like the G36 during the 1.3 launch. At the time, it was really the only clear choice when it came to primary weapons. Now, of course, some auto rifles were worth using, but during higher level engagements, you were really only hurting yourself by not using a fully maxed out crit chance Vector or an AUG. So that begs the question, guys, with the G36 somewhat back in line with the rest of the weapons, can you still pick up a Vector and clean house with it? Even though it's been nerfed by 10%, they capped critical hit chance, and on top of all that, they changed critical hit chance to critical hit damage. No one change that happened to this weapon was considered extreme at the time, but when you step back and look at the big picture, over time the Vector got hit pretty damn hard. So let's take a look at shots, guys. I use the same weapon mods on each Vector. One is pre-update 1.3 and it has 25.5% critical hit chance, and the other is after the update and it has critical hit damage of 47% on it. They both are in the 9k range in terms of damage, and they don't have any kind of damage increasing talents on them like Brutal or Fierce. The 25% crit chance hits a lot more crits, but when the other Vector does land a critical shot, it hits twice as hard. The problem is you won't be hitting critical shots. Take a look, guys. This is the Vector that has 47% critical hit damage. Watch me blast into this target forever and not land one critical hit. These are all normal body shots that you're seeing. The only time I land a critical hit is if I use a pulse, and when I do, it's very noticeable. But if you're a player that's not spec'd out for pulse, then you're going to be hurting bad. And an SMG is probably not going to be your go-to weapon. Switching out from a Scar L or the Black Market AK to the Vector actually dropped my DPS by over 60,000. That is a lot, guys, like a lot. So what does this mean? Well, it means this. If you have a 204 pre-update 1.3 SMG, odds are that you will be just fine and it will still help you shred enemies. You can see from this gameplay that even though I drop DPS, it still does a pretty good job at killing stuff, even at my level. The only problem you notice is now range. Your effective range drop-off in a Vector is severe compared to an AR, and here in the underground, you will notice that within the first few minutes. Now that everyone has been using an assault rifle and they're doing the same amount of damage up close or at 50 yards because of its range, you can see the amount of DPS you are actually losing out on when you're shooting targets at long range with an SMG. So what about if you dismantle your critical hit chance SMG? Well, a maxed out critical hit damage, would that be okay to use? Well, there is two extremes to this answer. One is absolutely yes, and the other is don't waste your time with it. And the reason goes back to this. Having 1,000% critical hit chance will do you absolutely nothing if you don't have any critical hit chance on it. So if you want to keep all your armor and exotic damage resistance perks on your armor and not have to worry about speccing out for an SMG, you're better off going the light machine gun or the assault rifle route. However, if you want to try a new approach and you have the time to craft a gear set the right way, you can take advantage of this extra load of critical hit damage. You could be the new DPS king. It will take a lot of work and a lot of luck to not only get the right weapon talents like, Fierce, Vicious, along with Deadly, but you're going to have to set up your armor and your weapon mods to run with a heavy critical hit chance build. Use this in combination with a lot of skill haste and pulse, and you can absolutely not make only the Vector, but SMGs in general great again. Personally, guys, I don't have the time or the patience to go looking for yet another specific build after chasing around for a perfect Tactician setup, exotic damage resistance setup, my old Striker setup at 268, so adding another build is just not something I plan on doing right now. But I bet someone out there is going to try it, and I bet it will be pretty damn impressive. So the short version is that SMGs are a mixed bag right now. You don't have to go all out and get your critical hit chance up to 60% and crit damage at like 200%. Just having Fierce on it and a few mods along with Pulse will do you just fine. However, if you don't run anything on it and you just have critical hit damage, you are going to be wasting your time. However, it seems like to me that if you use that same setup on a G36, you will get more DPS for your effort, and while most ARs can't keep up with Vectors and MP5s in terms of rate of fire, which is why going out for an SMG build could be beneficial, for most of us what everyone is using now is pretty much the go-to for one simple reason, and that's because the best out there, the G36, is already the best with very little effort. But that's it, guys. As always, this is my opinion and my findings from dicking around with a Vector for a few days and testing it on the firing range, as well as the Underground, HVTs, DZ, and the Incursion. Some advice: unless you have Pulse or critical hit chance, don't use any SMG in the DZ or you will die. Your outlook may differ, but one thing we can all agree on is that SMGs are nowhere near as great as they used to be, and of right now, I don't think they're in a very good spot. Sure, a rotation was needed, but unless you spec for it or you have Pulse 24/7, they're at the bottom of the barrel, and that is absolutely where they should not be. Alright, agents, well, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you all so much for watching and for supporting the smaller YouTuber. Any thoughts on SMG or what other people can do to help out their DPS? The Division Hive Mind is better than any YouTube channel out there, so feel free to comment advice. Always. That's what YouTube is about, and it's great to learn new things from the community. Well, alright guys, I'm out of here. Have a great remainder of the weekend, and until next time, y'all, this is your boy Sly. Done, gone, out.
Okay, Agent, I'm impressed. Like I'm gonna be too busy.